Okay, stop me if you've heard this one before. A wizard, a warrior, and a thief all walk into this bar. They all put their hands on this mysterious magical artifact, and then all of a sudden, poof, all their souls kind of fuse into one being. And then, alright, no punchline here, but there is Trine, which is an excellent new and really beautiful side-scrolling platformer. It's got a heavy emphasis on physics-based puzzles.
There was a flash of light, and the wizard, the thief, and the knight simply disappeared.
So thanks to that magical predicament that the three main characters find themselves in, you can switch between the thief, the warrior, and the wizard at any time. Since all three characters have dramatically different abilities, that feature is absolutely central to the gameplay here, which really encourages you to switch around and experiment with the different ability sets to find different solutions to a given problem. The wizard is useless in a fight, but he's good for getting past obstacles because he can do things like summoning stackable boxes and summon these short little bridges to extend over kind of bottomless pits.
As the thief lay her hand on the treasure, she had a tingling sensation.
The thief is definitely the most mobile of the three characters. She's got a grappling hook that you can use to swing across gaps and pull off some pretty snazzy kind of momentum-based, physics-based aerial tricks. And then, of course, the warrior is basically your muscle. He's got a sword and a shield that you can use to vanquish just scores of skeletons that you're going to fight in every single level. But altogether, with such a robust physics system and three very distinct sets of abilities at your disposal, there's almost always more than one valid way to get around a given obstacle. I'd characterize Trine primarily as a puzzle game, so it's actually pretty impressive that the game's combat is also as good as it is. The thief is armed with a bow and arrow, and you can actually vary the tension on the bowstring when you shoot it, which lets you kind of control the arc of the arrow. It lets you sort of arc the arrows over obstacles and pull off some trick shots if you're good enough. The warrior has a shield that he can hold up to cover actually any part of himself. He can also pick up objects and throw them. And what really makes this combat work so well is the aiming system, which lets you aim the thief's bow and the warrior's shield in an arc around the character with a pretty good degree of precision. So that lets you pull off trick shots with the bow or really protect yourself from falling obstacles or enemy swords with the warrior's shield. Trine would be great with just the character's basic set of abilities, but there's actually also a solid sort of RPG-style character progression layered on top of that. You can find loot scattered around in treasure chests that are hidden in each level, and the items that you find in there will buff your character's stats and give you a few kind of unique ways to be more survivable. There's also a level-up system that lets you upgrade all the character's three core abilities with sort of a basic like RPG talent tree setup. You don't gain experience points from every enemy you kill. You only get experience from every X number of enemies, because most of the experience is actually embodied in little green bottles that are stashed all around the different levels in some pretty hard-to-reach places. So there's actually a direct sort of tangible benefit to your characters that results from when you exploit your abilities and really explore, every nook and cranny of the levels. Visually, there's not a whole lot I can say about Trine that you really can't just see for yourself in videos, but seriously, this is really a fantastic looking game. The artists use the fixed camera angle of the 2D perspective to really great effect. They give the levels a real excellent feeling of depth. They also have just an expert use of color in there, set pieces, and all kinds of environmental effects that really give all the levels just a great sense of sort of a cohesive atmosphere. The lavish graphics don't actually come at a really great hardware expense either, because even my kind of modestly equipped PC that's about 3 years old kept the game pretty much running at 60 frames per second the entire way through, even on high graphics settings. You can also play Trine with sort of a drop-in, drop-out cooperative mode that lets one or two extra people jump in and take control of the other characters all at the same time. I thought that 3 players honestly was just a little too busy, a little too demanding, because you lose the ability to switch between characters, which requires you to get each character across every obstacle. It just makes some of the obstacles and some of the puzzles kind of a pain to get through. But on the other hand, the 2-player co-op feels pretty much just right, because you've still got a spare character that either person can switch to, which gives you a lot more flexibility and also lets you pull off some tricks that you can't do in the single player. Ultimately, though, Trine is really at its best when you play it just as a carefully paced single-player adventure where you can really stop, just pause, and consider all the intricacies of the different puzzles that you run up against, and think of some really creative ways to use the abilities at your disposal to approach these solutions. We don't really see a lot of 2D action games that are this thoughtfully designed these days, so to get to play one that's also as great as this is a real pleasure indeed.